Okay, welcome everybody to the second EOSC Beyond webinar. Today we're going to learn more about the Integration Suite and the Execution Framework, two of the new services developed within the EOSC Beyond project. I am Federico Drago, the Communication Manager of the project from the EGI Foundation, and today I am introducing the webinar for you. I will just give you a very brief introduction about EOSC Beyond. So we have recently reached our 18th month of activity, and we have reached several of the achievements that we were intended to achieve by this time. As you probably know, the EOSC Beyond project is developing a series of next generation services for EOSC in support, of course, of the Federation of EOSC nodes. These are the services that we have been developing. So we have been improving the existing core services. We have developed the two services that we're going to talk about today, so the Execution Framework and the Integration Suite. And then we have this Innovation Sandbox, which is a pre-production environment where people can come in, they can test their solution and integrations in order to test integrations with other nodes, with other pilot nodes. And these are the pilot nodes, as you can see here, in different types: regional, national, e-infrastructures, and thematic. These are some of the achievements that we have reached over the first 18 months. We have contributed to the definition of this technical architecture. There's a concept paper that you can find on Zenodo. Of course, you will find all these links afterwards in the slides that will be made public after the webinar. The Innovation Sandbox was open to external people earlier this year, and it was introduced in the first EOSC Beyond webinar in June. You will find the link again on the website and on the slides. You can explore the sandbox yourselves, and there's a contact form where you can ask any type of questions and any type of integration that you would like to test. We have worked on a series of pilots, as I was saying, that you can discover on our website. There are several of them on different topics, and you will find videos explaining their user stories and fact sheets on the website to accompany them. And what we will talk about today, of course, the release of the first release of these new services, the Integration Suite and the Execution Framework, which, of course, you will also find more information about on the website under the deliverables. The Innovation Sandbox, as we were saying, it's a pre-production environment for the EOSC platform. It's a testing and staging environment where like providers, nodes can come in, they can test their solutions. And you can find the link here, the direct link here. Of course, feel free to come in, browse it, learn more about it, and contact the team with your questions. Today, we have two presenters. We have Carlos Brandt, my colleague at the EGI Foundation, who will introduce the EOSC Integration Suite for us as the first speaker. And then we have Alessia Bardi from OpenAIRE and CNR ISTI in Italy, who will introduce the Execution Framework. So with this, I will leave the floor to Carlos. Here you will find all of our social media links. So I wish you a pleasant webinar, and I'll see you in a bit. Remember to add your questions in the Q&A box, and they will be picked up at the end of the presentations in the Q&A session. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Federico, for this introduction. Let me share my screen and start the slides. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Good. Thank you very much. So good morning, everybody. I'm Carlos Brandt, your first speaker, and I'm going to present you the new EOSC Integration Suite and the adapters. I speak on behalf of the Integration Suite, the work package 10, 11, and 12 team. And So let's start by what is the problem that we are trying to address with this service. The integrating service of research infrastructures, and this is knowledge and experience that comes from previous projects in the context of EOSC. When providers need to integrate their service, this has shown to be a time-consuming, painful, or expensive, if you will, process. There is the figure of and so naturally we want to improve that. We want to reduce the pain of integrating the services. There is the figure of the interoperability guidelines, which are documents that establish or define or standardize to some extent the interface or the usability of the services. So you can find the EOSC interoperability guidelines in our portal in the currently EOSC node. The issue with the interoperability guidelines is that those are documents made to humans, and they don't actually provide a software version of that or implementation to that. So there is a manual process here to go from service interoperability guideline and the integration. And we surely the service providers create their own tools or libraries to connect or to simplify their integration, establish their integration towards service, but then those tools are spread all over the internet. There is no central repository for that. So we want to, if I can summarize, we want to simplify the process of integrating service. And the integration suite is there exactly for that. So we want to we want to create this repository of software that we call software adapters, tools, libraries that node managers, providers, people integrating service can use right away. We want to create also a linkage between the guidelines that we talked about before, their services, and those tools that we are calling adapters. And then, as I said before, we want, at the end of the day, all we want is to simplify and improve the quality, reduce the time, reduce the costs to integrate service. So what is exactly the integration suite? As I had already hinted, this is a repository of what we call the integration software, which are no more than software libraries in the context of EOSC service. We are calling them, to give them a clear designation, we are calling them adapters. Oops, sorry. So the integration suite is that. It's a repository for those adapters, specifically the metadata about those adapters. I'll get into the more technical details soon. The integration suite is built on top of 3 already existing EOSC service, core service: the interoperability framework registry, the provider's portal, which is one of the interfaces of, or an interface to the service registry, and the Discovery Hub. You may have, the Discovery Hub is our former marketplace. Now Discovery Hub or front office, those are synonyms. So the idea here is that we will, through this service, we will enhance the whole process or improve the whole process of onboarding and publishing. So the adapter is a software library. It implements, the idea is that it implements the interoperability guidelines. So an adapter is connected to a interoperability guideline. An adapter, hence, is a way to standardize or homogenize access to services or protocols, APIs, so on and so forth. Adapters are necessarily open source software. Adapters are, though, here is a highlight, the last item, adapters are optional. If you are integrating services, you don't have to use an adapter. This you can use if you think, if you want to use them. Naturally, you don't have to. An adapter, also we will discuss it. Let's say that an adapter was written in Python, but for some reason you don't like it, you don't use it, and then it's not a solution for you, then you don't have to use that adapter. Again, they are here to help you, not to block you. A wrap up on the vision, what besides the motivation, the idea behind the integration suite is that we foster, if I can resume this slide, we foster a collaboration of open source software library in or within EOSC. The idea here is that we can simplify, as I said already, but also improve the software quality, hence the integration, improve the interoperability and guarantee that we are as interoperable as possible, and the adoption of EOSC services as a whole. Simplifying, reducing the barriers, we understand it's likely to improve the adoption of EOSC as a whole. When we talk about users here, we are talking about, we have in mind service providers, EOSC node managers, data space managers and actors, and overall developers in our community. So let's get a bit more technical. The architectural review. As I said before, we have the registry, the provider portal, and the discovery hub. The registry is responsible for storing adapters metadata and provide an API to link or to provide information about adapters and the linked resources. The provider portal will provide the workflow, the interface to onboard the adapter through a form. And the discovery hub is where you access, you search for your adapter. And lastly is the data model of the adapter. So this is a new EOSC resource, the adapter resource, and hence there is the metadata associated to it is formalized through a data model that we call profile. Everybody likes a figure, so that's the idea of the adapter. I don't have to spend much time here, but you can use it or not. That's the idea of this slide here. Series 1 and 2, they are let's say they connect, they integrate to the same EOSC service. One is supposedly from one node, two is supposedly from another node. But service or node one, so to say, decided to use adapter because it would simplify their life. Service two did not, hence everybody is happy, everybody is using the cloud service. Here is the architecture that I talked about also, just so we have a better idea. Here at the top, this calling this little human figure here is the so-called provider, now the developer that created the adapter at some point in their life. It uses the provider's dashboard to create an entry in the registry. Both the provider dashboard and the registry, let's say, they know the adapter or the structure of an adapter through the adapter profile. The adapter profile, as I will as I told before, and I will highlight that again in a couple of slides, the adapter profile is a metadata set that actually links to the adapter code, the package, and the documentation. So we don't host the registry, the integration suite, do not host the adapter source code or the packages. We link to where that package is. And the idea here is that we will not duplicate data, we will not duplicate efforts. Usually, we are all very much used to GitHub or our own instance of GitLab, Git, or whatever, or even SVN. Whatever repository you're using, we don't want to duplicate that effort or that resource. So we will link it to that. Eventually, the registry is used by the Discovery Hub to query the adapters. Pardon me for here, the marketplace should be substituted by a Discovery Hub. This is a figure from delivery in the past, so I will update that later. And then eventually the marketplace is where let's say the adapter user, again, a node manager or service manager looking to integrate to a service will use. They will install the adapter or deploy the adapter in their on their premises, or use if it's a middleware to access the service eventually. And then here is just to make clear that since we don't duplicate code, we don't host the adapter package itself, nor any representation of the adapter itself, the software, only the metadata. So it's an index of packages. Once you got the adapter, you are free from the integration suite. Now your business is between you, the service, and the adapter in the middle. So you are free to go. And then just to highlight the idea of the adapter as a metadata set of information. We have informations such like name, author, so on and so forth. And then we have some mandatory external to EOSC fields, or where the content actually is, and you will point in the definition of the adapter, for instance, the source code or the documentation. Here are some figures. This is regarding the user interface now, where you publish your adapter, you go to the provider dashboard, deployed in our EOS sandbox, as Federico said before. You create your adapter, you fill the form, and you submit it. Once it's submitted, you give it a couple of minutes or some minutes, and eventually it will appear, it will be harvested by the Discovery Hub and appear in the listing of adapters. Here, for example, on our left side, we have the list view showing one of the adapters. Here, a detailed view showing another adapter. Specifically those, just by to keep the synergy here between them, they are meant to Jupyter Notebook. So Exchange services, you will find when we go there, you will find nowadays around 20 adapters for core services, Exchange services, so on and so forth. So adapters are meant to be community driven. We have a batch of adapters that was developed and it's being developed in the project, partially from for the core services, Exchange services. More are coming out from the pilots participating in the project, and the idea is that this index, this listing, and this whole set of adapters will be, it's a community-driven effort. And why would you then contribute an adapter? Well, first and foremost, this is would give you, your node, your institution, visibility in the EOSC universe, in the EOSC community. You would improve the whole adoption of EOSC, and hence the whole infrastructure, the whole services, the whole community would benefit from that. Yeah, and you would likely improve the whole experience, not only of the providers, but also for the users. So the idea is that the whole European open science cloud community and service will get an improvement through them. And that was my presentation on adapters and the integration suite. I hope this was clarified.
Thank you, Carlos. Actually, maybe before we move to Alessia, there is a very quick question in the Q&A that I can ask you. So they're asking, what is the difference between the integration suite, repository of adapters, and the interoperability framework registry? If you want to pick it up now, yeah.
Let's let me just bring it up here, just so we check the figure. The integration suite is built on top of the registry. So the registry here, this box that we see, the registry holds information about services, stores interoperability guideline, and the adapter is yet another resource that the registry will store and provide through its API. The integration suite is a glue within those three services. Now, the provider dashboard, where you publish, the interface to publish your adapter. This is an interface to the registry from the publication side, and the Discovery Hub on the other side to access the information about that adapter. So the integration suite is a glue, a string that unites those three services, and the glue here is the adapter profile.
Okay, thanks. So I hope this answers the question. In case it doesn't, please add a further question in the box. Thank you, Carlos. So we can move now to Alessia's presentation. Again, just a quick reminder, if you do have any questions for any of the two speakers, feel free to add them in the Q&A box and then we will address them. So Alessia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Federico. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, so first of all, I have to apologize for my voice because I have a kind of flu, so I'll try to speak as less as possible and try to let my slides speak for me. Okay, so the EOSC Execution Framework. What is the objective? The objective is to enable the dynamic deployment and composability of services in the EOSC. And we achieve this through two main functions. So first is to allow users to compose resources intended as data and services within their scientific workflows. And second, providing automated configuration and deployment of the necessary computational resources. To achieve dynamic composability, we identified a need for an enhanced registries. So a registry with machine-readable interoperability guidelines, which we define as configuration templates. So, for example, if a service wants to be compliant with the EOSC monitoring guidelines, it must provide a service check endpoint. This is a very simple example. We also need a registry that holds service descriptions that tells if the service is compliant with a given interoperability guideline, and if yes, how. So we refer to these as configuration instances. So the idea is to be able to say that I am a service compliant with the EOSC monitoring guidelines and my checkpoint is this one. And this can be, of course, done also in more complex case. Beyond the registries, we also require a deployment service that can handle virtualized infrastructure provision, the deployment of complex applications across multiple cloud backends, and also federated nodes. It also needs to have the capability of assigning fully qualified and secure domain names, and crucially, the support for automated data staging capabilities. Here you can see an example. If I'm a researcher in cytometrics and I want to run an analysis on the OpenAIRE graph, which is 300 gigabytes of tar file, I may not have the necessary disk space or computing resources on my local laptop. The deployment service must not only deploy the infrastructure I need, but also move the data so that I do not have to download it on my laptop and upload it somewhere. So let's now look at the evolution of our registry components. And the shift is toward machine readability, machine actionability, and we focus on deployable services and resources that are compliant with the EOSC interoperability guidelines. And the EOSC deployment service has also undergone a significant upgrade, and these changes that we have performed enhanced the framework's ability to manage data locality, secure networking, and complex workflows. So the idea is also to go in a setting where these things can be done in a federated environment. Okay, so to showcase the capability of the execution framework, let me present you 3 composability-based applications that we have developed so far. The first one is the Scholarly Communication Metadata Aggregator for EOSC nodes. And the application allows users to select data sources that are compliant with the guidelines for onboarding research products, which are already available in the EOSC Interoperability Framework registry. So the user can look for the data sources that are compliant with those. They can request harvesting, so they can request to collect the metadata records that are available in those data sources and be notified when the harvested data is available. In the slides, you can also see, don't know if you see my mouse, but in any case, you can also see the enhanced data model of the Interoperability Framework registry. So the EOSC resource is a service, and specifically it's a data source. So the data source follows the guideline, which is the guideline for onboarding research products that comes with its configuration template. And the data source, when it is registered, it also includes a configuration instance that basically tells which are the properties that the application can use to automatically call and harvest the data. The second example is the data transfer application, and here we have integrated the data transfer service in the deployment service, so providing the data staging, data movement, data transfer capability that I mentioned before. And we also have integrated the data transfer service in EOSC Explore, so that users can request data transfers directly from the user space. So basically, users find a data set in the Discovery Hub, see its details, and if it comes with a DOI, then the user can also request to transfer all the files or part of the files of the dataset to a location of their preference. Our final example focuses on the setting up of data analysis environment, and in particular, it allows for the deployment on request of a Jupyter Hub environment with data staging capabilities, and this can be done directly from the EOSC user space. So from the Discovery Hub, you can basically search for ready-to-run services, which are actual the deployable services, and you can find the Jupyter Hub and request the deployment. I will not say more about this because we have a very nice video that shows it. It is important to say that the realization of this use case was possible combining the capabilities of the execution framework and the capabilities of the integration suite that was presented before by Carlos. So let's watch the video and then we come back for the final part of the presentation. I think it's better if I do this. Please let me know.
Welcome to the demo of the EOSC Execution Framework and the Integration Suite. You will see how a Jupyter Hub environment can be deployed from the EOSC front office and integrated with repositories and a cloud data store thanks to an EOSC adapter. We begin by searching in the deployable services list and select Jupyter Hub from the available offers. The service description provides technical information, classification, provider details, and a direct link to the Tosca template that defines the cloud topology. Opening the template, we can inspect the components of the infrastructure. From a typical Jupyter Hub deployment, this one has been extended in 2 aspects. to preload datasets when the service starts, given the dataset's DOIs, and to include the Jupyter Data Access adapter to allow the sharing of data with external data stores. The Jupyter Data Access is one of the adapters you can find in the EOSC Discovery Hub. Back to the deployable service, let's log in to request the deployment. We can now specify the infrastructure parameters, like the number of CPUs, storage sizes, and so on. We also add the list of dataset DOIs corresponding to research datasets to include in the deployment. The datasets are hosted in external open access data repositories. Once everything is filled in, we submit the order. The request is sent to the service provider and becomes visible in the Infrastructure Manager dashboard. The Infrastructure Manager composed the final Tosca template and handles the provisioning of virtual machines on the target cloud site. In this case, the IISAS Fed Cloud provider. As a quick detour, we can inspect the deployment in the provider's cloud dashboard. Several machines have been created. Back in the front office, we can see that our deployment is ready, and we can easily access our Jupyter Hub by clicking on the blue button. We can log in using the credentials defined previously in the request form. Inside Jupyter Hub, we can see that our workspace contains 5 biodiversity datasets from LifeWatch, ready for analysis. The system has automatically downloaded the datasets behind the DOIs we specified in the request form. Next, we open a Jupyter Notebook to proceed with our data analysis example. The analysis goes through loading, cleaning, computing, and visualizing data. Eventually, it generates output files, tables, and plots illustrating the results of the analysis. Once the analysis is complete, we use the integrated Jupyter Data Access adapter to connect to an external Amazon S3 bucket. In the adapter widget, we select the type of data storage and enter the required information to connect and mount the bucket in our environment. We save the output files, for example, plot figures, directly to the remote storage. To double-check that, we can go to AWS's console and see the files transferred. The infrastructure can be shared with colleagues who can perform different analyses and progress with the research activity. Once the collaborative analysis is concluded, we can free the resources. With the Integration Suite and the Execution Framework, researchers can quickly set up an infrastructure for collaborative data analysis.
Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. Where is it? Slideshow. Okay, perfect. So I hope you enjoyed the video and all the capabilities that it showed. But there are also other things that we need to work on yet. So we didn't finish our work. So in this slide, you can see some highlights on the next steps. So the next things that we are going to do for the execution framework. You can see we planned some enhancements to improve the usability of the execution framework in the user space, so both in the Discovery Hub, but also in the providers portal. But we also have some tactical enhancements to add more capabilities to the execution framework and to extend the three composability-based applications. So thank you for your attention and for any feedback, comments, questions that you may want to share with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Alessia, for this very thorough presentation. So I will also invite Carlos maybe to reopen his camera. So we are now opening the Q&A session. And I've seen that there was a question from Marta that Carlos has already replied to, but for the sake of the recording as well, so maybe let's cover it also in talking. So Marta was asking if it's mandatory that for each adapter there is an interoperability guideline. So what's the official answer, Carlos?
No, the official answer is no. So ideally, that's the original idea, that the adapters, there would be necessarily a guideline associated to that. But we understood, as we discussed, and especially from exchange services, and for the core services is easy, there is a guideline there. But then the exchange services and also from the community, reality is that we know there isn't always a guideline there. Because people create their services and stuff like that, and the guideline is a formalization, a formal document that eventually will come, but that's not part of the organic process of development and implementation. So we heard that, and then we relaxed that necessity for a guideline, and then in the system, when you publish your adapter, you have to associate to a guideline or services that is there. So you have your node, the services there in the registry, likely, then you can associate that to the registry. So that's the official answer.
Okay, thank you, Carlos. There's a new question. I think this one is maybe for Alessia. So in the demo, the datasets selected from the repository were linked to the Jupyter notebook that was then used for the analysis. Or is it on the user to write the notebook?
Okay, so yes, the notebook is on the user. So in the demo, we used a notebook that was that was already ready, and it was a notebook from LifeWatch. So it expected to use the dataset that were preloaded together with the infrastructure. But yes, I mean, once you have the infrastructure, once you have the environment for Jupyter, for the Jupyter Hub, you can use it to run any notebook that you want. Then, of course, the same thing that we did with the dataset, you can do it also for the notebook. So if you have a notebook on Zenodo, for example, you can add the DOI of the notebook, and that will be loaded in the environment like the datasets, as we showed.
Thank you, Alessia. Let's see if there's any other questions from the audience. Feel free also to raise your hand if you want. I mean, we can allow you to talk if you want. That's also okay. Marta? Can you talk? Try now?
Yes, can I?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Alessia is for Alessia. So one of the examples that you have presented, the scholarship metadata aggregator, what are you harvesting there? Are you harvesting the metadata, or are you harvesting the data that you have selected from the research products? It was not very clear to me whether this is a metadata harvester or is a data harvester from the resources that you have selected.
It's a metadata harvest.
Right. Okay.
The guidelines I was referring, which are the guidelines for onboarding research products, are basically the guidelines to expose the metadata records of a repository to the knowledge graph and so that they can enter into the discovery hub of EOSC Beyond. So we are talking about metadata in that use case. Yes.
So this functionality, it is for the nodes or for an end user to be able to harvest a whole bunch of metadata products.
So the initial use case, the one that was foreseen also in the description of action of the project, was for the nodes.
Okay. All right.
That way you could select a subset of data sources stored in the EOSC Beyond and get the metadata and do whatever you want. So for example, you could build your own discovery hub on the sources that are relevant for your node. But I mean, why couldn't be used also by users? Because I mean, users may be interested in the metadata that are available from a bunch of data sources in the EOSC. So once the functionality is there, why limit the usage of this?
Okay, thank you. Very nice.
Thank you. So there's another question, this time from Angeliki in the box. So she's asking, are these services available for also academic users? I mean, are there any limitations on what one person can order in terms of computational resources, usage time, and so on? So how to access them? I mean,
Okay. So for this question, I would like to ask the support from Miguel Cavallero from UPV, because he's one of the person who is very much involved, is the main person involved for the deployment service, and I think he can provide a better answer than me.
it's like who wants to be a billionaire, basically. So we can just ask people for help. Miguel, go ahead.
Yeah, but can you repeat? I didn't get the question clearly.
Yes, so Angeliki was asking, so are these services available for any academic users as well? So are there limitations on what a person can order in terms of computational resources, usage time, and so on? How to use
Well,
them?
currently the service that make the deployment, that is the infrastructure manager, does not have any restriction. Currently, in the sandbox that we have deployed for the Beyond project, there are a limitation because there are only one site that is providing the resources for this, let's say, proof of concept of the services. In the future, we are going to extend that in order to enable to the user selecting their own cloud provider. For example, the next extension will be to enable to select an EGI cloud provider where the user has an EVO when he can make the deployment.
Does this answer your question, Angeliki? Do you want to talk? I don't know. Or...
Hey, yes, thanks a lot. I'm at the office, so I cannot really talk.
That's okay. That's okay. So, I mean, if you have any further questions on these, I mean, feel free to contact the team. So, okay. But I think that was
Yes,
good.
thanks.
There's another question from Reggie in the box. The demo looks nice. Okay, thanks. How will the users track problems in provisioning, like datasets not loading, for example?
Probably I can ask this.
Yeah.
As we have shown in the demo, in most of the cases, when you make the deployment, it is hide behind the front office, so you cannot get too much information. In this case, you have to do as we are done in the demo. You have to go to the infrastructure manager that is making the deployment in order to get the information, the types of the status of the deployment. But probably in the future, this can be, we are discussing, let's say, with the front office to see if some of this information can be also obtained directly from the front office. But at this moment, it is not available yet.
Thank you, Miguel. Okay, so I would now just call for like any last rounds of questions, if there's anything, because we have answered all of the ones in the box. So let's say this is your time to talk, if you have any other questions. Okay. If not, well, I would first of all take this opportunity to thank Carlos and Alessia for their time and for their presentations. Thank you very much for being with us today. And then I would just like to share very quick info about our plans for the next webinars. So as of the moment, we're thinking of 2 more webinars to be held in the first half of 2026. So expect something that will introduce a bit more what's being done in the pilot nodes themselves. So this is one of the 2 webinars that we will be organizing in the next few months. And also, of course, we're going to introduce what's being done in terms of the update of the current core services. So, because this is also a very important part of what's being done in EOSC Beyond. So there will be another dedicated webinar in the first half of 2026, let's say, in which we will introduce a bit what's being done in terms of the updates to the existing core services for the next generation, let's say. So I'm again leaving the link to the newsletter in the chat. So feel free to subscribe to it. So it comes out every 3 months, but every once in a while we have special issues if we need to promote anything specific, like this webinar, for example. And the next issue will come in December. So feel free to register and follow the project, browse the Innovation Sandbox, play with things, contact us, and let us know if you have any technical questions or any wishes to integrate with our pre-production environment for EOSC. So I wish all of you a really nice day. I don't know if Alessia or Carlos, you want to say anything to close?
No, just big thank you, Federico, to organize this, and thank you to all the people who joined this webinar. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Have a great day.
See you soon. Bye all.
Bye-bye.